history, our people have been blessed with strong, brave, wise children. Come visit a few of them with me. Our first guest was born in 1817 and grew up to become a leader in the anti-slavery movement. Join me in welcoming Frederick Douglass.
Hello, my name is Frederick Douglass. This must be a very powerful weapon. I fought hard to give this weapon to as many people as possible.
When Frederick Douglass was a baby, his mother's owner sent her away to work at another plantation. Frederick lived in a cabin with his grandmother Betsy. When he was 9 years old, he was sent away to his first job, which was taking care of a younger child. He sat with the little boy during his lessons and paid close attention, so that Frederick also learned to read and write. And that's where his trouble really started. Many people thought slaves shouldn't be taught to read and write. While Frederick Douglass was a teenager, he was sent to other jobs. He was beaten and sent to prison because he helped other slaves learn to read and write. At age 21, he escaped from slavery. Later, he wrote a book about his life, which earned enough money to buy his freedom. As a free man, Frederick Douglass continued to work against slavery and supported the Civil War. He was appointed the Marshal of the District of Columbia and became the U.S. Consul General to Haiti.
Our next guest was born into slavery in 1818. Join me in welcoming Harriet Ross Tubman. Harriet Tubman's parents were both slaves whose masters gave them no time to make a home for their children. She was raised by a grandmother who was too old for the slave labor. When she was 6, she went to work as a weaver. She must not have been very good at it because she was beaten often. By the time she was 11, she had also failed at trapping, at housekeeping, and at childcare. Sorry. At the age 31, Harriet Tubman ran away. She went alone because her husband refused to risk running away. On the way to Philadelphia, she found people who were willing to help an escaped slave. Some hid Harriet in their wagons or homes. Others gave her food and supplies. Each helper would tell her where she could go to find the next helper. Since these helpers had to hide what they were doing, they were called the Underground Railroad. After she reached freedom, she made 19 trips back and forth on the Underground Railroad, bringing others out of slavery. During the Civil War, she was enlisted as a nurse to help sick and injured soldiers.
Sister Wendy, get on board is next. You good?
Love each other, children. Don't you get weary. Love each other,
Ready? Get ready up. Right hand. Again, please. Again. Okay, get on board. No, I hear the train coming. I hear the train coming.
I hear it just again. I hear the wheels of rumbling and rolling through the land.
I hear the train a-coming.
I hear it just again. I hear the wheels of rumbling and rolling through the land. Jesus! Jesus!
Ready? Get on board.
Get
on board, little children. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. There's room for many a more. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. There's room for many a more. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. There's room for many a more. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. Get on board, little children. There's room for many a more.
Now let's welcome Thurgood Marshall. His grandfather was a slave, but his parents were free people.
I like being in class well, but I always got called because my mom was in school with the teacher.
Thurgood Marshall's dad made him write the Constitution as punishment for his many misbehaviors. Maybe that's why he grew up to study law. He helped end segregation in school, and he became the first African-American Supreme Court Justice.
Now let's welcome Dr. Daniel Hale Williams.
I am Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. I was born on January 18th, 1856. I opened Providence Hospital, the first medical facility to have an internship staff. I was the first physician to successfully complete heart surgery on a patient. I later became chief surgeon of Cleveland Hospital.
Williams set up his own practice in Chicago's South Side and taught anatomy at his alma mater, also becoming the first African-American physician to work for the City Streets Railway System. Williams, who was called Dr. Dan by patients, also adopted sterilization procedures for his office, informed by the recent findings on germ transmission and prevention from Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister. In 1893, Williams continues to make history when he operated on James Cornish, a man with a severe stab wound to his chest, who was brought to Providence. Without the benefits of blood transfusion or modern surgical procedures, Williams successfully sutured him, becoming the first person to perform open heart surgery. The United States Congress designated our next guest as the mother of the modern-day civil rights movement. Join me in welcoming Rosa Parks.
They say I'm quiet, but also knowing to stand up for myself and knowing to be
Rosa was born in 1913 to
James McCauley, carpenter, and Leona Edwards, a teacher. When her parents separated, she and her younger brother Sylvester moved with their mother to their grandmother's farm in Pine Level, Alabama. Throughout her life, Rosa experienced the segregation between the white and the black people. On the public bus, the first rows of seats were reserved for white people. Black people were required to sit in the seats behind. The driver used a mobile board to divide the two sections. As more white people got on the bus, the driver would move the board back to make more room for the whites. Black people who were sitting in the seats would be told to move to the back or get off the bus. On the 1st of December in 1955, Rosa and 4 other people were sitting in the beginning seats of the black section of the bus. When more white people climbed in the bus, the driver moved the board back and asked those 4 to get up. 3 of the black people moved back, but Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. The driver called the police and had her arrested. This began a 381-day bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. This successful protest led to a Supreme Court ruling against segregation on November 13, 1956.
Pray together, children, don't you get weary. Pray together, children, don't you get weary. Pray together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Pray together, children, don't you get weary. Pray together, children, don't you get weary. Pray together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land.
Our next guest is the man with the dream, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
This is how I learned about discrimination. When I was 5, I learned to play baseball with my neighbor's children. One day, when I went to see if they could play, their mother said I could never play with her children again because I was black and they were white.
When Martin was 14 and in the 11th grade, he entered a speaking contest in Dublin, Georgia. His speech won first place. However, on the bus ride home, Martin was forced to give up his black section seat to a white person. He stood up for the 90-mile trip home. Later, Dr. King led the boycott of the segregated buses, which was started by Rosa Parks. He became the leader of a movement that destroyed the legal practice of racial segregation. While he taught and practiced nonviolence, violence was often used against him. He was assassinated in 1968.
The names of many of the brave children who fought for our rights are not found in our history books. For example, volunteers, including a group of about 2,500 student protesters, began what is known as the Birmingham Campaign with non-violent sit-ins and marches. More than 900 children between the ages of 6 and 18 were arrested. The Birmingham Campaign was one of the events which convinced President Kennedy to act on civil rights issues. This helped bring about the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banned discrimination in employment and in public places.
William Minner, who later became director of the Kansas Human Rights Commission, joins us to tell us about a traumatic childhood incident which happened near his hometown in Spiro, Oklahoma.
We had stopped at Spring. It was a very popular place where both white and black people get their water.
Two men grabbed my dad and said that we couldn't get our water till all these fine white people got their water. I remember my dad telling me, what you see is hatred and prejudice. There's gonna come a day when this is not anymore.
One, two, three.
Learn together, children. Don't you get weary. Learn together, children. Don't you get weary. Learn together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Learn together, children. Don't you get weary. Learn together, children. Don't you get weary. Learn together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land.
Good job. Black Americans have made spectacular achievements in science, medicine, and agriculture. One outstanding example is our next guest, the first African American woman to travel in a space shuttle. Welcome, Mae Jamison.
As a young girl growing up in Chicago, Mae Jamison always assumed she would get into space. Mae said it was easier to apply to be a shuttle astronaut rather than waiting around in a cornfield waiting for E.T. to pick me up sometime.
I'm inspired by Martin Luther King Jr., but to me, King's dream wasn't an elusive fantasy, but a call to action. Too often, people paint King like Santa, smiling and inoffensive. But when I think of Martin Luther King, I think attitude, honesty, and bravery. I think the civil rights movement was all about breaking down the barriers to human potential. The best way to make your dreams come true is to wake up.
Scientist, physician, teacher, and astronaut, Dr. Mae Jamison has a wide range of experience in technology, engineering, and medical research. In addition to her extensive background in science, she is well versed in African and African American studies, speaks fluent Russian, Japanese, and Swahili, as well as English, and is trained in dance and choreography.
Amen.
Sing together, children. Don't you get weary. Sing together, children. Don't you get weary. Sing together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Sing together, children. Don't you get weary. Sing together, children. Don't you get weary. Sing together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land.
Can the church say amen? Amen. Can the church say amen one more time?